Also, your hair looks great today. I've been meaning to tell you.
Thank you.
I noticed there was some extra care.
Yeah.
It takes
It takes a lot. Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. I mean, honestly,
It is pretty,
it mostly
pretty
takes
nice.
taking
It's
a shower.
amazing.
But even that,
But even
sometimes.
that.
I mean, I've had to learn the hard way. Because if it's been questioned, do it. I treat myself like a child. If I'm not sure, what would I say to a child?
Wow, that's actually a really beautiful kavana. I'll think on that one.
We decided to start with something soft and quiet. Because what could go wrong when you ask a group of folks to leave food and come sit? So if you could, I don't know, Susie Tanchel. That was the best thing I'd ever seen.
Let's try a different approach. Would people be willing to consider coming and joining us and sitting down so that we could begin the program? We would be so honored and grateful.
Is it a maximum invitation and a maximum expectation? Peacefully, Share tzedek, avoivam, odeya, ze hashar, lad hoishem, tzadikim yavovu. הודך אני שונא באתי לישוע הודך כי אני שונא באתי Hey
Thank you so much for elevating our spirits so high. I am Nancy Belsky, member of the Hebrew College Board of Trustees, honored to officially open the gates for meaningful interconnection and joyful celebration this evening. Welcome to the first gala at Hebrew College's new collaborative campus. Over 101 years, Hebrew College has evolved into an internationally respected, pluralistic educational institution. We open the gates of our community and of our hearts to embrace diversity, removing barriers to make room for everyone at the tables of Jewish learning and leadership. We are honored to have each of you with us this evening, including esteemed dignitaries, Newton Mayor Ruth Ann Fuller, State Senator Cynthia Cream, State Representative Kay Khan, and from the Consul General of Israel to New England, Consul General Meron Ruben and Rani Zaidan. We are delighted to recognize our collaborative campus partners, Temple Re'im, Jewish Arts Collaborative, Jewish Women's Archive, Kesher Newton, Keshet, Massachusetts Board of Rabbis, and Ruach Community Health, Zamir Corral, Mayim Hayim Living Waters Community Mikford Education Center. As you can well imagine, the possibilities from our affiliation are enormous. In addition, we gratefully welcome Hebrew College board members, staff, faculty, students, volunteers, and devoted donors. For those guests new to Hebrew College, thank you for celebrating with us. To the family and friends of our distinguished honorees, congratulations. So many folks conscientiously planned this exciting evening. Appreciation to Director of Development Rosa Frank and Director of Marketing Wendy Linden, who diligently supported the success of dedicated staff and the Gala Host Committee. And a very, Very special applause for our team captain and Hebrew College President Extraordinaire, Rabbi Sharon Cohen-Anisto. Time to sit back and enjoy, starting with this short video.
So I have two quotes on my desk that I look at a lot. The first says, "You are never too old to dream a new dream." And I think that's one of the things my loved ones would say about me, is that I'm a dreamer. That whether it's working in the city of Somerville in the mayor's office, or going to law school and practicing law and helping those that have barriers to opportunity, I'm a dreamer. And I just like to keep learning and doing and trying new things. The second quote actually came from my wife, Suzanne, who, by the way, was my inspiration to dream. That she, as I said earlier, went to rabbinical school at the age of 40, and she was my inspiration. And it says, "From the place that you are right, no flowers grow." From the place that you are right, no flowers grow. We all have to be willing to be wrong, and we have to learn from being wrong, and we're not right all the time. And I think, that putting the two quotes together is that I like to dream, but I also know that I have a lot to learn.
Well, my connection with Hebrew College started in the mid to late 90s with the Mayop program. It was something that caught the attention of my late wife, Betty Ann, and I, and we decided to participate. We've always had kind of philanthropic interests, but we really hadn't been as involved in the Jewish community until then. Betty Ann had been interested in interfaith studies, and she had also been interested in chaplaincy. So that was kind of a next connection with Hebrew College. She went to Hebrew College and got her master's in Jewish studies. At the time, we were still at the old campus, and next door was the Andover Newton Theological Seminary. And there were interested students on both sides in interfaith dialogue. There's so much to say about Hebrew College. We're pushing 100 years now. From its maybe not so modest origins as a teacher's college, it's really evolved into teaching kind of religious and lay leaders at every level, rabbis, cantors, teachers. And I think those skills are very important at a time when, a couple things. One, I think Jewish identity has really been challenged out there in our country. I think there's been a kind of a loss of Jewish identity. Also, I think interfaith dialogue has grown in importance. I think there's a lot of intolerance these days in the world, and I think teaching through the Miller Center the skills to lead in this type of environment are very important, and also, as I said, to kind of enhance Jewish identity.
One of the things I think I'm most proud of is, as you've heard me say many times, I'm a numbers guy. And the numbers at Hebrew College are really greatly improved. For the first time in 25 years, the college has no debt on its balance sheet, has cash in the bank, has a growing endowment, has a balanced and sustainable budget. For the first time in over 2 decades. When we were building our new home, that I pledged to the board that we would not build this home on the back of debt, and that anything we built had to be 100% supported by donations. And I'm proud to say, really through the great work of our Capital Campaign Committee, but also of all the donors, that we were able to do this. I think also really is the institution that we've become, is that Hebrew College is thriving. We are great at what we do. We are so important to the community. We have great leadership team and only getting better. And I think building that leadership team and the combination of financial backing are really 2 great accomplishments that I'm glad to be a part of.
I think the most meaningful piece is really watching what Or Rose and Tom and others have developed into programs, especially those that are oriented toward students and younger adults. It's very important to give young people today kind of the tools to kind of lead their communities with respect to interfaith dialogue. And I think that these programs have really been excellent at doing that. So that's really something that I have enjoyed quite a bit watching over the last several years now. I think by giving to places like Hebrew College, where the support trains them on Jewish values and good, strong moral identity. It helps because they can then give forward, kind of like I can give to the school, and then the young adults, the others who participate in these programs, can then take those skills and then give it forward again. So I feel like I'm getting a double impact in my support.
I've always, for many years as an adult, I would volunteer on boards. I would be a board member, and I volunteered really to participate in the community and share. And it wasn't until in 2013, I was actually asked to be the president of my synagogue. And I thought, you know, I'm more humble than this. I don't want to do this. I'll just lead from the sidelines. Let someone else do it. Someone else could really be the next president. It's not for me. So then I called my Uncle Rim, who has been my trusted advisor over the many years. And I'll never forget the conversation. Rim told me, he said, the humbling thing to do is to be president, is to step up, is to do the work, is to lead. So I did. And that led to 4 years as president of Temple Re'im, and then that led into 6 years of being chair of the board of Hebrew College. And what I learned from being in leadership is that you can be a humble leader. You can be vulnerable. You can learn from your mistakes. You can be in partnership. You can listen. So do all these things. And my message really to those in the community is it's okay to be humble and to lead, and we need you.
That was awesome. Erev Tov, good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Baker, President and CEO of Combined Jewish Philanthropies. Boy, this feels like a family reunion, doesn't it? So many friends in this room. Hine matovu manaim shevet achim gam yachad. It feels so good to be together, and to be together in this space at this historic moment. You can feel a palpable sense of blessing and a sense of completion and arrival. And you can also feel, as you said, an incredible sense of potential at the coming together of the organizations that are on this shared campus. And let's not miss the miracle of that. At a time when so many leaders and organizations are going it alone in the face of unprecedented challenges, Hebrew College and Temple Re'im and all of the other amazing organizations and partners have said, we're actually stronger when we're in it together. And I think we all know this isn't just a shared physical space. This is a shared vision, shared values, and a shared sense of possibilities. I love this campus, and I cannot wait to see the Torah that is going to emerge from this place. I want to wish a huge mazel tov to all of tonight's honorees. Dan Miller, I had the pleasure of hearing you speak at the dedication of the Miller Center, and we are inspired by your generosity, your personal authenticity, and your commitment to the values that animate Hebrew College, the Miller Center, and the entire Jewish community that we're trying to build together. Mazel tov on this honor tonight. Andy Offit, my dear friend, I think if you look up servant leadership in the dictionary, the first face we're going to see is yours. The years of leadership that you put into making this place happen, your generosity of spirit, your combination of humility and courage, your menschlichkeit and your incredible neshama are pulsing through this campus. I hope you are very proud of the legacy you are leaving as you pass the mantle to Nancy. Couldn't be prouder and happier to celebrate you tonight. Mazel tov. Of course, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, and thank everyone who supports this incredibly important historic organization in so many different ways. Andy and Dan, Nancy Belsky, Rabbi Sharon Cohen-Anisfeld, Dr. Susie Tanchel, Rabbi Or Rose, and all of the others who I can't name, the teachers, the rabbis, the spiritual guides, the faculty, the staff, all of you who are stewarding this historic organization into the future. Thank you for modeling for all of us and for transmitting to our next generation of leaders, whether rabbinical students or the young people from whom we'll hear in a few minutes. Thank you for modeling what humble, vulnerable, reflective, soulful leadership looks like at a time when our world and all of us need it so badly. And speaking of soulful leadership, I will share one piece of Torah from one of my Rebbes, who I know is many of your Rebbe as well, Parker Palmer. Parker describes leadership in a way that it's haunting, but it's incredibly powerful and I think resonant today. He says, a leader is someone with an unusual degree of power to project onto the world and onto the lives of the people who dwell there his shadow or his light. A leader is a person who must take special responsibility for what's going on inside herself, lest the act of leadership create more harm than good. I think we all know we're living at a time when too many leaders are projecting their shadow onto the world, sowing division, fear, disdain, mostly for people who are different from us. And what's going on right here is a tikkun. It's a corrective for that. Hebrew College and the Miller Center know that leadership is the work of the heart, and that they are developing leaders who are learners, who approach the world and humanity with compassion and curiosity, and who will ultimately build bridges, heal divides, and shine their light into the world. In that sense, the Torah that you are teaching is both changing individual lives and changing the world at the same time. On behalf of our whole community, thank you. And now I'm excited to introduce one example of what this looks like in practice. I had the privilege as a father of watching my daughter go through the Dignity Project this year, so I got to see firsthand the ways that it is shaping the minds and hearts of the young people who are going to lead us into the future. So I know the panel we're all about to see is going to give us a sense of who these young people are and the impact that the Dignity Project is having on them and their lives. Let's enjoy.
My name is Rabbi Batya Illinois, and I am a proud and grateful alumnus of the Rabbinical School at Hebrew College. Microphone. Is this better? Yes? Okay. Erev Tov. My name is Rabbi Batya Illinois. I'm a proud and grateful alumnus of Hebrew College. I have also been blessed to serve as a fellow, a mentor, and assistant director for the Betty Ann Greenbaum Miller Center at Hebrew College, the Learning and Leadership. Tonight, I am privileged to moderate this brief panel experience surrounded by these beautiful, powerful, and courageous women. The intent of our panel is to hear from these three people, each at a different stage of life, who have participated in Miller Center leadership training experiences, highlighting the importance, urgency, and beauty of this work. I'm delighted to first introduce our panelists. Lashira Lash Nolan is a writer and activist who is currently a fourth-year medical student at Harvard Medical School and also pursuing her master's in public policy from Harvard Kennedy School of Government. Lash is the first, hold your applause for this one, Lash is the first Black woman to be student council president at Harvard Medical School. She was a participant in the Boston Bridges program in 2021-2022 with me. Shruti Gupta was a Billy undergraduate fellow from 2019 to 2020 and continued on as a program alumni liaison in 2020-2021 academic year. Shruti currently works at MIT, supporting its free digital education initiatives. She will begin graduate studies at MIT this fall, studying data science. And Maytal Baker is a senior at Gann Academy in Waltham, Massachusetts, and was a fellow in our most recent cohort of the Dignity Project. After graduation, Maytal will be taking a gap year in Israel and then plans to attend the University of Maryland. Please join me in giving a warm welcome. Beginning with almost Dr. Lash, each of our esteemed panelists will share a value or virtue that they learned that was enhanced as a Miller Center Fellow. So Lash, please start.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's an absolute honor to get to share this space with you all. I walked in and there was music, there was dancing. I was like, this is my kind of place. So it's great to be here. So I had the great honor of meeting Rabbi Orr during basically my first year of medical school. And he invited me for the opportunity to be a Bridges Fellow. And through this opportunity, I feel like the ongoing theme for me was love and community. And what's so interesting is that, today has been quite difficult for me as a Black woman because I learned that, unfortunately, there's a Black man named Jordan Neely who was killed on a New York subway station just this week. And I was reflecting on this as I came here, and I thought about the fact that our world is so polarized, and we are so living in our own spaces that it's easy to look at the horrible event that happened this week and make it a racialized incident. But really, we should all be thinking about the fact that a fellow human being was held in a chokehold for 15 minutes while other people looked and did not come to his rescue. And I feel like that is what I learned in this program, and that people from different walks of life who would typically never meet, folks who were previously incarcerated, folks leading teen empowerment programs in Brookline, folks who practice indigenous healing and religion, we're all in the same space, breaking bread and sharing meals, and it was absolutely beautiful. And that is exactly what I believe this world needs, because the way that our roads are even built is made so that it prioritizes convenience. So you don't see that person who's unable to put food on the table every day, or you don't even see someone who looks different than you because of how segregated our communities are. I go to Harvard Medical School, and I basically did most of my training in the Longwood medical area. But if you go right down the street, you will end up in Roxbury. But I can tell you that most of the students at Harvard Medical School, including myself initially, had never stepped foot in Roxbury. And the life expectancy in Roxbury is about 30 to 40 years different than the life expectancy in Back Bay. So when I thought about my experience in being a Bridges Fellow, and I looked around and I saw people that I would never interface with otherwise because of the way that we are divided and separated, I knew that that space was sacred and special. And I knew that the opportunity that Rabbi Orr gave me was one that would make me a stronger leader, a better human, and a more prepared physician to serve my patients of all backgrounds. So I am so thankful again for the opportunity, and I think that we need more spaces that the Miller Center is working to create for us here.
I think sacred and special is definitely a common experience for me in the Billy program, in the Boston Interfaith Leadership Institute program, which is what I also had the privilege to be part of in 2019 through 2021. I think one of the core values that I carry from those years, very special time, was the dedication to creating a conscious community. As a student fellow in 2019, my peers and I were able to bond through several different activities. We were able to fly to Chicago for a national interreligious summit. We were able to meet once a month, share food, and have challenging conversations over a delicious dinner. And at the end of the year, we hosted a beautiful retreat in a rural bed and breakfast outside the city. And each of these experiences did really help me develop the skills to engage more effectively as a leader with people from different walks of life, as Lash mentioned as well. Our shared goal was to create intentionally a caring and supportive community dedicated to honest and respectful dialogue about coexisting. When the time came for me to step up and serve as the Billy Alumni Liaison the following year, I had the wonderful opportunity to facilitate these experiences for the next cohort of leaders in training. But, of course, what I could not anticipate was that we had just begun the COVID-19 pandemic. So we were not traveling, not sharing food, and not sharing spaces with 100 people became an important community guideline for us all to honor, to keep each other safe. But where there is a will, there is a way. So together with Reverend Tom and Rabbi Orr, we created new community guidelines to ensure that everybody was safe. We adapted our programming to allow for meaningful discussion and learning from a distance and or masked. And I felt pushed to think anew about the meaning of community. How do we create and sustain purposeful communities? Like countless educators throughout the world, this required careful consideration of how to maximize online resources and draw on other means of communication and connection. As an alumni liaison, that included things such as writing postcards and sending care packages to the fellows, holding office hours for individual or small group conversation, facilitating breakout rooms during full cohort sessions, and simply serving as a calm and supportive presence in a time of upheaval and uncertainty. Through this unexpected but powerful experience, I came to understand more deeply that in order to create and sustain our community, we need to establish trust, express compassion, and allow for vulnerability. And this process required making a commitment to spending time together. To put it more simply, creating any meaningful community requires showing up for one another. COVID taught us that creating sacred space does not necessarily require sharing a physical space. I found that embodied practice, even at a distance from one another, was a powerful tool. This belief transformed the ways I was able to forge connections with the Billy Fellows and strengthened connections I already had as a person with a family and community that spans across several countries. I am very grateful for the lessons I carry with me from Billy and how these values continue to shape the ways I move through life. I know that these will be important tools as I advance to graduate school in grounding me in community, in faith, in compassion, and trust. These are all such important values to carry through any time of uncertainty. I'm sure any 20-something will relate. These are all things that are so important as we move forward.
So I would say one specific value that I really got out of the Dignity Project is mindful or deep listening. So when I think about this value, I think about a specific exercise that we did on one Sunday at the Dignity Project. So we went into groups and we all would go around and answer a question that the group leader would ask, but we weren't allowed to respond to anyone else's answers. We just had to sit there and listen. And I have to be honest, when I first heard these instructions, I was like, why in the world are we not responding to people who are sort of sharing their heart out and like answering? And I thought it was a little bit rude, but I decided to take a deep breath and lean into this exercise. And the first time around, it felt sort of strange not to say anything, and I almost said something a couple times, but I quickly stopped myself and remembered that the whole point of the exercise was to not say anything and just listen. But after a couple rounds, I kind of understood the point of the exercise, and I noticed how focused I was able to be on the other person, and I wasn't distracted by any of my own thoughts and like preparing my responses internally, and I felt very present during the exercise. And then when it was my turn to talk, I also felt a significant difference because I knew that everyone else there wasn't thinking about what they wanted to say back to me. They were just giving me their deeper attention. So this exercise sort of just remains with me as an underscored value of mindful listening and the spirit of the Dignity Project as a whole. It sort of pushed me out of my comfort zone and helped me discover something which I didn't appreciate before this meeting and didn't really see a point in. And so I sort of learned that deep listening requires a shift in attention, and we have to sort of turn off our internal voices and focus on the person before us. And not only does this help us see and hear others, but it encourages them to do the same. And so we can help each other listen and speak with greater care. So I feel like that's a value I definitely got out of the Dignity Project.
Thank you all for sharing your wisdom. One final question for each of you to answer in a sentence or two. How do you anticipate utilizing your interreligious, cross-cultural skills in the next stage of your life journey as a physician, as a graduate student, as a gap year / undergraduate student? And Shruti, we'll start with you.
So one thing is that, I'm actually not going to MIT for data science. I haven't committed anywhere yet, so I can't tell you, but I know that the program I'm going to is going to be online. So that was actually a really important skill for me to learn, was how to forge these connections with people without sharing the same space as them. And I also feel that, as I said before, it is really grounding to be rooted in the practice of showing up for one another in any way that you can. And I really feel that's what I've learned that community is based off of. And I know I'll take that as I move into graduate school and my adult life.
Thank you, Shruti.
I think as I prepare to leave my Jewish high school and enter into diverse communities like the Dignity Project, it's especially important to practice this mindful or deep listening that I learned. And not only does it help us become better listeners and speakers, but it encourages others to join in creating these thoughtful spaces for genuine dialogue, which I think is really important in these types of spaces. And this is a skill I hope to continue to practice for many years to come.
Yeah, so I grew up in the Baptist church. I'm originally from Compton, California, in Los Angeles. And I think that this experience has taught me the lesson that I keep learning over and over in medical school, which is doctors aren't just science people, but they're people's people. And I think what I'll use from the lessons that I've learned here is that my patients exist in a context outside of the clinic. So whether my patient is celebrating Passover, Ramadan, or Lent, I will be able to make sure that I see them wholly. And I am so, again, thankful that I'll now have that lens to provide them with the best level of care that I can.
Thank you so much, Lash, Shruti, and Meital. Your reflections are gifts of inspiration. May you each be blessed as you go on your journey, and may you be sources of blessing. In closing, I want to add one final word of gratitude. When Dan Miller was asked how he would like to be honored tonight, he said that he would like the community to hear from the young people involved in Miller Center initiatives. You have now heard from 3 brilliant women, each helping in different ways to create a more just and compassionate world. As yet another relatively young person who has also been shaped by the Miller Center, I want to thank you, Dan and Betty Ann of blessed memory, for your generosity and care, which helped to fuel this holy, life-enhancing, and much-needed work. To paraphrase Betty Ann, only together can we weave our individual threads into a tapestry of healing and renewal. Dan, I pray you feel and know this honor of which you so deserve, the honor shemagia alecha, that which is arriving to you. Thank you. Thank you.
Should take my heels off. I'm Monica Steiner. I'm finishing my first year of rabbinic school here. Yes, look at that. I've been very lucky in my life, to quote Andy Offit. And I'm equally as grateful. As a Jew, whenever I reach out with my best self to offer, I always have community reaching back to me. I was a lay leader and a development professional at our large synagogue in Santa Barbara, California. I'm a mother of 3 children under the age of 10. And it was my Jewish community there that said, yes, you have what we need for our collective future. And yes, you should and can somehow become a rabbi. And it was because of my new community here, through the Hebrew College Scholarship Program, that I was able to consider that move at all. Our future is not lacking for potential leaders, but it takes scholarships to make it possible for the best of our rising talent to consider and pursue a calling in religious and communal leadership. Our future is not lacking for talent, passion, and dedication, as we've seen here tonight with the young people at the Miller Center who affect every community they touch for a lifetime ahead. For many of them, participation in these programs, like for me, would be impossible without scholarship funding. A scholarship from Hebrew College allows young people an opportunity to invest in something greater, in themselves and in our future. Our future is not lacking for potential leaders. They are in my classes of future cantors and rabbis and educators, and my, how we need them. They, and those who might yet come here to study, are brimming with life and talent and passion to serve our community and our world. But Rabbinic and Cantorial School is an investment of about $150,000 over 5 years. 90% of us depend on scholarships to make our education possible. Scholarship funding opened the gates for me. I invest everything in me as I walk through those gates, as a leader, now and for our future. And the truth is, we all walk through those gates together. So pick up your program book and pull out your pen and your pledge card. Or you can use the QR code. We have one on the, we have a QR code here for the technologically savvy. My colleagues from the Cantorial and Rabbinic School are here to help you. And I'd tell you, talk to them tonight. Talk to them. Listen to the life and the talent and the passion in them to serve our community and our world. Tonight, we open the gates together, and I thank you for it. I thank you very much.
Now, right? Pen. Oren Nyman. Tuning. Romemuro
I base my work on images that pertain to a particular site and to the people who use it, so that it's very personal. I do a great deal of research in order to learn about my clients and what they might want to accomplish by having a sculpture there in the first place. I discovered that the cyclamen was the flower of love due to the shape of its leaf in the shape of a heart. The cyclamen, it turns out, is the flower of Israel. Well, here are some of the bits of symbolism. A dove represents peace. It sits on a rock. What is rock? Rock talks about time. With a seed, we see future in its mouth, ready to drop into the hole below. Next, from the first hole, the second little seedling grows. So that speaks to the very last bud, symbolizes the future. These 7 growths speak to the biblical 7 days of creation. I think the sculpture speaks to almost a big thank you to all of the people who donated to this wonderful, wonderful college. It's so inspiring, I can't tell you.
Nancy, we are so honored to be able to honor you tonight. And I wanted to just share a few words. If you haven't had a chance during the reception or before the program, I encourage you afterwards to take a moment to look at the beautiful sculpture that Nancy Schoen has created for us in the courtyard. I think it's actually lit up so you can see it even in the dark. I just wanted to say a couple of words, and we're really honored to be able to present you with Hebrew College's Esther Award this evening. I vividly remember the first time I walked into your home and studio. We came to you, 3 women rabbis, Suzanne, Sonia, and me, looking not quite like the image of a rabbi that you were used to or expected. And we came to you with a challenge, which was that we asked that you would work to create a work of art for our new home that would honor past generations of Hebrew College supporters, the countless individuals who have brought us to this moment and on whose shoulders we stand today. It was a personal privilege to witness the way you set about the task, the way you listened with boundless curiosity, with a combination of whimsy and seriousness, with honesty and delight, and willing to not know where the creative process would lead, while at the same time utterly confident that it would lead you and us to where you needed to go. Over the course of the next weeks and months, the vision emerged, what you've just seen here, the beautiful sculpture that sits in our courtyard, with the bird dropping the first seed into the ground, and from there, the cyclamen flower beginning to blossom and grow, the rakefet, flower of Israel. We've called the sculpture Tending Hope. And below that is the Hebrew from the book of Genesis, Le'ovda u'leshomra, that divine command to all of us, to tend the garden and protect it. It felt like every step of your creative process was infused with intention and at the same time felt completely serendipitous. This Esther Award that we present to you tonight is named for our ancestor, Esther, who acted with courage and hope in the face of uncertainty. And I present it to you with deep gratitude to you for helping us honor in such a beautiful way those who have tended hope in our community, but also with deep gratitude to you for the way in which you tend hope through your own work as a public artist. intention and serendipity. It strikes me that perhaps this is the nature of your work as an artist, and perhaps it's the nature of all the work we do. To come to it with a sense of purpose, and to come to it with a sense of possibility, and to watch what flowers and unfolds. Thank you so much for helping to tend our garden of hope. Thank you, Nancy.
Erev Tov, good evening. I'm Rabbi Or Rose, and I have the privilege tonight to offer my dear friend Dan a blessing. It's hard to believe that it is almost 7 years to the day that you and I stood on a stage like this at the 2016 Hebrew College Gala to announce the founding of the Miller Center. As the saying goes, we've come a long way, baby. In the last 7 years, we have trained approximately 200 high school, undergraduate, and graduate student leaders from Boston and from across the country. We've published nearly 75 articles and blog posts by people like the amazing women on the panel this evening. We've engaged thousands of others, including during the peak periods of COVID, through many a Zoom engagement. And we forged strategic relationships with venerable institutions like Boston College, Boston University, the Dietrich Bonhoeffer Institute, Interfaith America, Green Faith, and the National U.S. Holocaust Museum. Simply put, none of this would have been possible without you and your late wife, Betty Ann Greenbaum Miller, of blessed memory. Let me say a brief word about Betty Ann as I experienced her before offering you a blessing. The sages in the Mishnah ask, what is the most favorable quality a person can cultivate? Amidst a cacophony of responses, Rabbi Shimon offers the following: to behold the fruits of one's labor, even as they first emerge. Betty Ann was just such a person. She was a pioneer at Hebrew College, not loud or brash, but impassioned and determined. She saw the potential for Hebrew College to become a living laboratory for both intra-Jewish and inter-religious pluralistic learning and leadership, and then went to work. She tilled the soil, planted seeds, and watered the garden, even when her physical health limited her capacity to enjoy the fruits of her labor as she had hoped to do. Nonetheless, she remained a champion of our work until her untimely death in August 2015. I feel deeply honored to carry on her legacy as the founding director of the Betty Ann Greenbaum Miller Center. May her memory inspire all who learn of her name and of her life's work. Moving from the Mishnah to the Talmud, there is a famous story, at least famous among geeky rabbis, about a long-standing debate between the academies of Hillel and Shammai. It goes something like this. After 3 years of intense argumentation, a heavenly voice finally calls out and says, shush, no. Calls out and says, these and these are the words of the living God, Elu ve'elu, divrei Elohim chayim, and the law must follow the opinion of the house of Hillel. The anonymous editor of this legend asks a sensible question. If both positions are a part of God's holistic, transcendent truth, why do the Hillelites carry the day? Why so many Hillel houses on college and university campuses? The answer is as follows. The students of the Academy of Hillel were kind, modest, and fair-minded, articulating the opinions of their interlocutors before their own. Dan, you embody these three qualities like few other people I have encountered in my lifetime. I want to provide one example of each. And the examples are intentionally granular, even mundane, because they illustrate in simple but real ways how you walk through the world. Kindness. Every fall for the last 7 years, you have texted me with the Boston Bruins home playing schedule, letting me know when my beloved hometown Winnipeg Jets will be visiting. And every year you ask me if my hockey-crazed son would like to go to the game with me. You then add, if he's away, I would be happy to serve as a substitute. Modesty. Every summer, the Miller Center Advisory Committee adds 1 or 2 new members. In welcoming new people, we open our first meeting with personal introductions. Predictably, when it is your turn, you say impishly, "Hi, I'm Dan Miller. Betty Ann was my wife, and I'm a big fan of this work." Fair-minded. I have now sat in countless meetings with you. You could give a master class in what Maytal described earlier as deep listening. Let me add that you are not a pushover, but you always carefully consider the views of others before responding positively or critically. And so my blessing to you, Dan, is that you be blessed with many more years of health and vitality to continue your mission as a modern disciple of Hillel, and that you behold the fruits of your labor as we together carry forth the sacred work Betty Ann gently but firmly nudged us to undertake many years ago. Me umka de liba, from the depths of my heart, thank you.
Good evening. So when I asked Rosa Frank, our fabulous director of development, how long I had to speak, she said she would give me 1 year for each minute that I was chair of the board. So that'd be 1 minute. Is that what I said? 1 minute. I'm already a minute in, so that would be 6 minutes. And then Suzanne advised me that I should really only talk for 4 minutes, but truthfully, nobody really wanted to hear me for more than 3 minutes. So first, some thank yous. So thank you all for coming this evening, for your support of Hebrew College, for your support of Dan Miller, and your support of me. It means a lot, and it's fun to see so many fans and supporters here. To my partner tonight, Dan Miller. Dan and I grew up in the finance business. In fact, he's still growing up. And we've crossed paths many times. Dan, thank you for your dedication and generosity to Hebrew College. Thank you for being the good guy that you are, that Or so very well described. And thank you for saying yes when I invited you to be my partner for this evening. To our board, many times we laughed and celebrated, but there was also some very difficult work. You always showed up, willing to engage, listen, and push back when appropriate. When I asked you to help me and join committees, every one of you said yes all the time. As chair, I could ask for nothing more. And more importantly, you had my back. We did not always agree, but I knew it was not personal, and we needed to put the college first. Without this, we could not have accomplished nearly what we did. Thank you. Our CFO, Keith Dropkin. Keith, where are you? You're out there somewhere. There you are. So I'm a numbers guy. You may have heard me say this on occasion. And from the minute I started this role in March of 2017, I knew I could always trust the accuracy and completeness of the numbers from Keith. Keith has a nickname. We call him Under-Promise and Over-Deliver. And by the way, this is exactly what one needs from a financial officer. One who understands the numbers, reports them accurately, and when it comes to budgeting, under-promises and then exceeds the expectations. Keith, I'm lucky to have worked with you, and Hebrew College is lucky to have you. So thank you. And to my partner, my friend, our president, Rabbi Sharon Cohen-Anisfeld. Sharon and I both started our roles within 6 months of one another. We're both left-handed, and we're actually born within 3 months of one another. I'm actually the older one. So we both knew not so much about the college, about the current state of the college when we took over, but we dug in. Early mornings, long nights, followed by more early mornings. There were some moments we were literally communicating 24 hours per day. I could talk all night about our working together, but would just offer this. Sharon, you taught me leadership, compassion, patience, listening, and it's okay to be vulnerable. We are deep working partners and friends. And by the way, the only reason why this worked is through the support of our spouses, Shimmy and Suzanne. So thank you, Shimmy and Suzanne. So I want to give a quick update on the college. I'm a numbers guy. You may have heard me say this. And I want to reiterate some of our numbers. Currently, we have 80 students in the rabbinical school, which is an all-time high. That this year will educate over 3,000 people through our community education programs, also an all-time high. That the placement rate of our rabbinical school graduates is over 95%. I think it's better than Harvard Business School, although they have a lot more people than we do. We have no debt for the first time in 25 years, which we're most proud of. Our endowment is $3.5 million and growing. We're in our new home, which is right-sized, and we're joined by our wonderful partners, and it's beautiful. And our budget is balanced and sustainable. And as you heard in the video, I pledged several years ago to move to our new home with no debt and a balanced and sustainable budget. And we did it, all of us. So thank you. As leaders, we can only strive to leave our institutions in better shape than when we found them. And we did this. Hebrew College, now 101 years strong, is financially secure, the programs are thriving, and we have an exciting plan for the transition to Nancy Belsky as our next chair. Nancy is smart, collaborative, hardworking, and has the perfect skill set to take the college to the next level. And I'm so confident Nancy is as my successor. So I want to try something here. So I want to conduct a short survey, and I'm going to need you to participate. So sometimes I'm asked the question, what is Hebrew College's impact on the community? And do we really need Hebrew College? Which is quite a question. So there was a clear need 100 years ago when American Jews needed to be taught to speak Hebrew. Or 50 years ago when no universities offered any courses on Jewish history, past and present. Or 20 years ago when Prosdor was the only game in town and boasted an enrollment of close to 900. But how about today? So let's try to measure Hebrew College's impact on the community. So this is the part where I need you. So please stand if you belong to a synagogue that has a Hebrew College rabbi, cantor, or rabbinical intern. So also please stand if you participated in an organization or school like JCDS, Schechter, GAN, Two Life Communities, or Hebrew Senior Life that has Hebrew College graduates working there. Is there anyone that participated and worked in those schools? Also, please stand if you've enrolled in programs in our community ed, like Maya, Open Circle, or parenting through a Jewish lens. And finally, stand if you've interacted with the Miller Center, which is, as you heard today, is a leader globally in interfaith engagement. So look around. If you are standing, that your community, your Jewish life, you and your family has been touched by Hebrew College. So thank you. You can sit down now. And this is just the people in this room. You know, geographically, our reach is far greater, from Washington, D.C., to Chicago, to San Francisco, to Australia, to Brazil, and of course to Israel. By program, we staff institutions and organizations doing work around policy and supporting underrepresented and vulnerable populations. Our graduates perform highly impactful one-on-one interactions at bar mitzvahs, weddings, funerals, and many life cycle events. And the list goes on and on. If any of these are familiar to you, know that this is Hebrew College. This is our touching you. This is why we value Hebrew College. So do we need Hebrew College? You could look around, see everyone standing, and you be the judge. So I'm over my time, but I want to close by offering a feeling I actually very rarely share publicly, and that's pride. I worked hard as chair and take great pride in what has been accomplished. We did a great job, all of us, and as our leader, I'm proud of my work, I'm proud of my impact, and I'm proud of my legacy at Hebrew College. It takes a village, and I'm honored and proud to have led that village. Thank you.
I have the great privilege of closing out the evening by having an opportunity to say a few words about Andy. I also, just looking out at this crowd, just want to say also, mi omek libi, just what a deep, deep sense of gratitude I feel for everyone in this room, for everyone who has brought us to this moment. So thank you, thank you. Andy, there is a midrash, I promise it's a short one. There's a midrash that I love on the beginning of the book of Leviticus. It comes after Moses has led the people of Israel out of Egypt, across the sea, through the wilderness to Mount Sinai and beyond. And when they finally finished building the Mishkan, when they finally finished building the Holy Tabernacle, Moses says to God, "Am I done yet? Can I sit down now?" And God says to Moses, "Are you kidding? B'chayecha, this is just the beginning. Your most important work is ahead. Your most important work is teaching the people how to bring their offerings before me, how to live in relationship with each other and with the divine, how to build a holy community." Now, don't panic. This is not my way of letting you know that you have to do another 6 years as chair. Thankfully, you've also given us the gift of recruiting an extraordinarily wise, talented, dedicated person to succeed you. I'm sharing this midrash because it speaks to what you have modeled about the most important work of leadership. Over the last 6 years, if you'll permit me to extend the metaphor, you have led us out of slavery to annual deficits, across the sea of drowning debt, through the wilderness of not knowing where our next home would be, to the Sinai of renewed mission and purpose, and through the building of our own Mishkan. But every step of the way, you have reminded us again and again that what matters most is how we live and work in relationship with each other. I asked those who have served with you on our board of trustees to share Some of the words that come to mind when they think of you and your leadership, these are just a few of them. Boundless energy, selfless dedication, steadfast commitment, source of inspiration and courage, no matter the difficulty of the challenges we faced, relentlessness, gentleness, modesty, focus, extraordinary patience for listening to others, compassion, consensus building, devotion, love. Andy, you can sit down now. You can step down now from your role as chair, knowing that this is your legacy to us. You have never led from the place of self-aggrandizement, from the place where you are always right, where flowers never grow. Instead, you have led from and with humility, love, humor, constant self-reflection, unfailing devotion. And tonight we rejoice in all that has blossomed under your leadership. I know you will continue to embody these qualities as a lawyer, working to make our criminal justice system a little more just, because in the words of Cornel West, justice is what love looks like in public. For your steady and steadying leadership, for your expansive vision and your huge heart, for lifting my own spirits during the hardest of times. One of Andy's great words of wisdom is, new day, new underpants. I will never be able to thank you enough. Sorry, was that bad? So I want to close. I want to close by presenting you with two gifts. The first is to acknowledge your role in leading Hebrew College to financial stability and sustainability for the first time in so many years. In recognition of that, we are naming a key leadership position at the college in your honor in perpetuity. Our head of finances will henceforth be known as the Andy Offit Chief Financial Officer. And we even have the stationery and business cards to make it real. So, and finally, we have one more surprise for you. Long before Andy became chair, when Suzanne was a student in the rabbinical school, Andy, you inaugurated a beloved tradition at Hebrew College, the tradition of Cake Day. At the end of every year of study, each class of students receives a cake. After year 1, the cake says R. After year 2, R.A. After year 3, R.A.B. You get the idea. After year 5, the cake says R.A.B.B.I. Rabbi. Or for the cantors, a cake that says H.A.Z.Z.A.N. Chazan. So naturally, in honor of this cherished tradition and in honor of your really devotion to and love for our students, we present you today with your own CHAIR exclamation point cake. Andy, for all you've done and for all you've taught us while you've been doing it, we are forever grateful. As we move into our final musical number and then into dessert and schmoozing, I hope people will stay and enjoy. I'm also really delighted to announce that we have raised in this room this evening another $37,000 for scholarships at UB College. Thank you all.
השורר שירה השורר שירה לכבוד התורה. I sing a song, a love song in honor of Torah, looking towards Shavuot. May the sound of this melody from a Moroccan Jewish community lift us towards Shavuot. שורר שירה לכבוד התורה, השורר שירה לכבוד התורה, מפז יקרה זכה וברא, זכה וברא, מפז יקרה זכה וברא, זכה וברא. השורר שירה לכבוד התורה, השורר שירה לכבוד התורה, מפז יקרה זכה וברא, זכה וברא, מפז יקרה זכה וברא, זכה וברא. נאמן שמו אחד העמו, נאמן שמו אחד העמו, להיות לו לשמו, להיות לו לשמו, ומה נבחרה, להיות לו לשמו, להיות לו לשמו, ומה נבחרה. השורר שירה שלכבוד התורה, השורר שירה לכבוד התורה, מפז יקרה זכה וברא, זכה וברא, מפז יקרה זכה וברא, זכה וברא.
נכלה בכבודו על סיני הודו, נכלה בכבודו על סיני הודו, קרא לעבדו, קרא לעבדו לקבל אורה, קרא לעבדו, קרא לעבדו לקבל תורה. השורר שירה לכבוד התורה, השורר שירה לכבוד התורה, מפז יקרה זכה וברא, זכה וברא, מפז יקרה זכה וברא, זכה וברא.
על יד רוענו ניתן לנו, על יד רוענו משה רבינו, משה רבינו בחיר האומה, משה רבינו, משה רבינו בחיר האומה. השורר שירה לכבוד התורה, השורר שירה לכבוד התורה, מפז יקרה זכה וברא, זכה וברא, מפז יקרה זכה וברא, זכה וברא. רמב"ן אימא תורה תמימה,
התורה,
אשור שירה, לכבוד התורה,
מפז יקרה, זכה וברה, זכה וברה,
מפז יקרה, זכה וברה, זכה וברה, מפז יקרה, זכה וברה, זכה וברה, מפז יקרה, זכה וברה, זכה מזל טוב!
שטייך.